Salut Martin, welcome to an episode of Entrepreneurs in Quarantine. We're in quarantine, some of us shave, others don't. You look like you're ready for, another day at the office. I don't. Thank you for being with us. You are someone that I have followed intimately from C2 to your other roles, and I love the dialogue that you have with the public and your audience with respect to mental health, holding the government accountable and all of the other organizations accountable for delivering and helping to deliver mental health services and resources pour la population. Martin, thank you for being with me. Tell us who you are and what you do, good sir.
I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, and I've worked between the event industry and the technological world on and off, or both at the same time. I was managing director for Ticket Pro many years ago. I launched Intellityx as co-founder, which was the first company using RFID for large-scale events, and worked on Coachella, Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza, and many of the largest festivals in the world, implementing that technology. And then I spent 5 years at C2 as COO and executive producer of C2 Montreal and of the international events, and spent a year in Australia trying to launch C2 in Asia Pacific, which unfortunately didn't work out. And then I've spent a year and a half with the guys at Felix and Paul Studio as COO, working with them on the first ever cinematic capture of space inside the International Space Station and many other projects. And decided to take a step back in March and focus on new projects. Unfortunately, I just didn't realize that the world would come to a stop.
So the world comes to a stop, and so your CV is incredible. It has to be recto verso, at least 30 pages at this point. What your passion through all of this incredible experience has been mental health. Tell us about why you're so involved in mental health and what it means to you.
Well, I've been involved for over 11 years in mental health. I'm now chairman of the organization Revivre in Quebec, which supports people from anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder. I suffer from all three, so that's big part why I'm so involved in mental health. But even before I've realized that it was a struggle that I had, I've always understood that it's illogical that people's physical health is something we can talk about openly and without any problems. And unfortunately, mental health is something that most people are shy to talk about. And the resources available for people in mental health are scarce. Like in Quebec, you're lucky if you manage to see someone in 6 months, whether it's a psychologist, psychiatrist, or social worker. And so imagine you're at work and you realize you're suffering from a burnout or a major depression. You see your doctor, they give you a couple months off to see someone. By the time you come back to work, you still haven't seen any specialist helping you with that. So it's always sounded surreal for me. So that's why I got involved. And on top of it, Revivre is an organization that helped me significantly by teaching me how to do self-management in mental health, which means that how to be equipped to dealing with your own mental health issues, not expecting that the system fixes them all for you.
You're doing amazing work at Revivre. Tell us right now, and under normal times, mental health is an important topic and needs to be pushed even further in terms of an agenda. COVID comes around, the world stops, like you said, as we know it. What has been the impact on people suffering from mental health? The number of demands, requests for resources at Revivre, and how has the organization managed during COVID?
Well, the reality worldwide is that demand has skyrocketed for mental health. Anyone suffering before the crisis with any mental health related issues, or most mental health related issues, have seen a severe increase of their symptoms throughout the crisis. And I'm not the mental health specialist myself, but having spoken with many who are, they've said that the cases that they see are significantly more severe than usual. For the rest of the population that didn't suffer from mental health issues, and keep in mind that in Canada, 1 out of 2 persons will suffer from mental health issues by the age of 40. So most people have precondition of some kind of mental health issue in the world we live in today. So the COVID crisis has definitely increased that significantly. Morneau Chappelle has done a Canadian-wide survey, which called their mental health index a week and a half ago, and it was the lowest ever recorded in Canada of Canadian mental health well-being. And I saw an article in France yesterday saying that 50% of workers surveyed said that they were suffering from mental health issues. So as far as Revivre goes, we've switched everything instantly to virtual when it comes to supporting people one-on-one on phone. And Revivre has created an amazing program of self-management workshop called J'avance, which are about teaching people, like I said, the skill sets to know how to get better on your own. And we're turning those into virtual e-learning workshops right now. So we're going to be launching fairly soon the first pilot of these workshops. We've given them for over 5,000 people in person, but now we were expecting to launch a virtual version next year. So now we're trying to launch it next month because of the crisis.
So yeah, you're forced to adapt. I mean, every organization is forced to adapt prematurely. So now we're at the point where some people may be experiencing depression, anxiety like they've never felt before, loss of job, uncertainty about the future, and so on and so forth. What are things that people need to identify within themselves about mental health and signs that it's time to go and seek resources?
Well, I'd say that everyone is different, and the like I said, I'm not a health professional myself. I can only give advice on what I do personally to get better. And the first step for me is creating kind of normalizing your environment, like figuring out, even though what we're living right now is surreal, like c'est juste pas normal, everything that's happening right now. But if you find a sense of normalcy within that, it enables you to kind of calm and centers yourself out. And it's usually easy to know when someone's not doing well, even for people around them. Unfortunately, people tend to be shy and the stigma preventing them from it. So that's what makes it really not easy on the opposite, because they don't want to admit it. But if you're feeling for a few days in a row that you get up every morning and you just don't have the energy to do anything, and you just feel that you're completely down, then at least call an organization like Revivre or 811 and see whether that's normal. And if your people around you say that you've changed significantly over the last few days, then it probably means that you should also consider asking for help. And the thing is, you don't even need to get there to ask for help. If you worry that, you know what, I don't want to get into a depressive state or an anxious state, there's organizations like Revivre that are there for that, to give you tools before you get there and help you figuring out what you need to do to avoid getting there.
Martin, what's one thing that you've learned or discovered during COVID about society, about human nature, about yourself, that has surprised you or appalled you because we're in different times?
Well, I'm excessively happy to see the pollution level going way down worldwide, and that it's kind of forcing everyone to look around and realize that the nonsense we've been doing for the past decades and decades of just ripping everything from the planet, I've got to come to a stop, and I am hoping that we are going to bring change. I am appalled at seeing all the large organizations, especially in the United States, that instead of declaring to the stock market, you know what, guys, we're just going to lose money this year, but we need to take care of our people, especially in the US, where people lose their health benefits when they lose their job. But instead, it's just profit, profit, profit in a time where, quite frankly, we all know the economy just doesn't exist right now. So trying to keep it going is just a nonsense, and we need to find ways to recover from this. And I've don't want people to keep thinking about, oh, after COVID-19, it's going to be all good. And like in 2 months when we reopen, everything's going to be instantly back to normal. We're in this for a year or two of change. And my hope is that instead of going back to our old ways, that we embrace new ways of working, new ways of working remotely if we have to, new schedules, avoiding travel for the environment, and all things that we should focus on, including a better work-life balance that enables us to be with our families and kids much more, helping our and their mental health in the process.
Martin, fantastic words. You're so well spoken. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Great eye-opening information for people who can see that the face of mental health and the face of resources are just like you and me. I mean, we're really no different. And so everybody should reach out to Revivre. And you're extremely, open and generous with your time. So I've always appreciated that about you. Thank you for being with us, sir, on this episode of Entrepreneurs in Quarantine. This is my low budget response to getting people information that they need as fast as possible. So merci et à très bientôt, Martin.
Merci, à bientôt.
Au revoir.